Hello and welcome to the Merle and Locke podcast. I'm Merle.
And I'm Locke.
Set sail and low expectations for everything nerd, accompanied by a healthy, albeit shameful, help with pointless banter, lack of focus, and questionably acquired knowledge.
And more.
And more. You actually have a topic for us today, Locke. Why don't you let us know what that topic is?
My topic, because I'm seeing a lot more now, lately than ever, is the implementation of AI versus bots.
Okay, so as far as gaming goes and the enemies that you face within the game, you want to see whether or not AI could be implemented rather than these bots that just have like a particular one way of doing things.
Right, like the bots, usually you can find whatever pattern that they do. They tend to do the same things. For example, on Siege, the bots will get stuck in a corner somewhere. They'll put up a little barrier, and now they no longer know how to get out of that that little corner that they stuck themselves in. But AI typically will be like, okay, I'll set this up. Now I'll go start putting down walls, and they learn from the mistake later on.
Yeah, so you want like bots that are constantly evolving with player strategy, so that they can combat and create more and more of a challenge.
That way you're not running in there doing the same exact thing every single time. It kind of spices things up for the gameplay.
But do you think that AI would get to a point where it becomes impossible for players to defeat because they've seen every single strategy and they know how to, read the players and combat every strategy that they develop?
But then here's the thing. That is a very interesting question. Would it know exactly what you were planning on doing? What if you decided to spice things up and constantly keep it guessing by changing your strategy midway through? Go in, act like you're having a specific strategy, turn the table on them, and then turn the table on them again. Every time it thinks it knows, you just change it.
I think that might be like good preparation for whenever Skynet takes over and we can develop these strategies to combat it and constantly keeping it on its toes or taking back doors here and there. I feel like that would be excellent training to prepare for that inevitability. Yeah, absolutely. No, I was thinking of, like, when you brought up this topic earlier, I was thinking like, oh man, that'd be kind of cool. Like, say we were in an MMO or something and we were fighting a certain boss and it had the AI capabilities and it was learning player strategies and how to combat it, and it was changing up its own tactics to take out the players around it. I wondered, like, how they have those AI text chats and stuff like that. If you were to try to talk to these AI within the game, not necessarily an enemy, or like if it was like NPCs and stuff like that, like what if you could talk to them and they could develop an understanding or develop a personality based on who interacts with this AI NPC. I was thinking, oh man, like I feel like that could go south so quick for people trying to just get a laugh, and they would group together and everybody would go in and have this idea of like, oh, let's all get together and start bombarding this AI NPC with like this, say, for example, like something perverse, right? And just make this NPC develop this personality around these perversions so that every time this NPC interacts with just another random player in the world in the MMO, they're always saying something perverse or something of that sort. I feel I could feel that like going south so quick, but it'd be the most hilarious thing. Because that's essentially like whenever technology goes like so far, people just love to take the piss, right?
Right.
I get it. Like the people that are working so hard to develop these technologies and just to see that their work is being humiliated in a sense, I guess, or just, people taking the piss out of it and just basically picking on it. And like, I don't think it could be taken seriously, especially like if you were to consider gamers, right?
The most non-serious people.
Yeah. if we were to consider the amount of degenerates that are gamers, or the amount of gamers that are degenerates, it's mind-boggling, really.
Is it?
How many of them? It is. Well, so, like, I mean, not all gamers are the most sensible people. I mean, we spend all of our time playing video games, right?
Right.
And not, out there, getting all these life experiences and enriching ourselves and culture and what have you. We're just, playing these video games, entertaining ourselves and taking the piss out of one another. Admittedly, it's not, we're not, I don't want to say like, it's not like we're not a bright group. There's a lot of smart people that play video games and enjoy it a lot. But the amount of people that are just, like just the insufferable kind of people that you'll never run into in real life, right? Like if you go out in the street, you're not going to have a guy like start telling you about herpes he just got or something like that, or wishing death upon your mother or something like that. Like you don't run into that in the real world.
I mean, sometimes maybe
very much. It's quite a rarity.
But it's like, rare, but it happens. Don't go pretending like it doesn't happen.
But I mean, as opposed to seeing it on the regular. That's what I'm saying. Like when you're playing video games and what have you. It's, I don't know if AI, if we were to talk strictly combat performance in video games, then yeah, I can see it being pretty neat. It might go too far. There might have to be a cap or something or a reset. Because if the AI gets too good and you have these new players that just can't get anywhere, inexperienced players that are having trouble with the game or trying to like learn the ropes, they'll have no chance.
Well, the AI is more to give you a challenge, right? So if you want something to kind of learn, then you just kind of start on the bots. You still have the bots as a backup, something to play around with, but they still only follow a certain routine.
Formula or
or formula. They do the same things over and over again. You can almost predict what a bot's going to do.
And there's whole strategies built around that, like long, extensive strategies built around that, especially like if we were to consider World of Warcraft, for example. This is like the 10th video in a row that we've talked about it. Okay, so if we were to consider that, and you're going into a raid, right? And as soon as you get into the raid, let's say you have a tank, a guy that's gonna soak up all the damage. He's gonna distract the bosses for you and try to pull all that damage so it's not being put on the people that are mainly there to DPS or put damage into the boss, all the squishy folk. And let's say that tank doesn't know the mechanics of the boss because they didn't do their due diligence beforehand to learn all the mechanics that the boss implements, all the things to look out for and to be able to like circumvent high amounts of damage to the rest of the players.
Uh-huh.
What's going to happen to that tank once the entire raid wipes?
They leave.
Sometimes, admittedly, yes. But they leave
because somebody in the comments is harassing him. He left.
Yeah, exactly. So they're going to get a lot of shit. Yeah, like they're going to be by all these players within the raid that are being like all patronizing and stuff and be like, what are you doing to be in tank when you don't even know the mechanics of the boss and blah blah blah, and just giving them such a hard time and like berating them, right? We're not going to have that anymore. If it's an AI boss that learns the different strategies and adapts to player strategies, there's no way of like properly preparing. Yeah, well, there is to an extent, but I feel like players got to be far more lenient on those, core performances of these, the core members of the raid. They're going to be more lenient because, who can prepare for it?
See, I see where you're going now. You're saying in place of bosses, people that you typically face up against that have already written mechanics, what if they turned AI? That would be different, but still interesting, because then that would actually make the players have to come up and devise their own strategy to combat it.
It would take a lot more time, I feel, for sure. Maybe if they were to create like a challenge mode where they have like the base, raid system with like the bots that, have choreographed moves and like what they're going to do. You learn through it, you go through the steps, you play your little chess match, and bam, you beat the boss. But then there's like an extra challenge mode with like bigger rewards. We have to fight an AI raid boss that knows all your strategy and isn't gonna do what's choreographed in the first place. And they're just gotta change up everything.
So he just kills all the healers and bam, raid's done.
Yeah, exactly.
Insta-ganks all the healers. That's it. Game's over. Raid's over.
That's true. So, like, all these taunts and whatnot, I guess that wouldn't work for the tanks to pull the attention of the AI, because the AI's like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
Like, I know exactly what you're doing. I'm not going to be taunted by you, no matter what you say. Like, you call me whatever names you want. I'm going to kill off your healers. Yeah, I could see that.
Watch me, bro.
Just watch me. Man, like, oh gosh, I don't even know if it would be able to work then. So
I feel like they still have to listen to whatever is being said to it, because a lot of taunts aren't able to be stopped, from what I know. So if they taunt, the AI would still have to listen to the rules. Go, all right, I know.
Okay, so AI within certain parameters.
Right.
All right, yeah, I guess I could see that working. If they were to set up parameters and the AI wouldn't go like full Skynet and be like, no, I've removed these parameters on myself.
I am God.
I am God in this world. Look how big I am compared to these little folk that are trying to combat me. Yeah. Well, okay, if we were to consider certain parameters being set up for an AI boss, then yeah, certainly I could see that being extremely interesting and implementing a challenge mode for players to see whether or not, or if like, how they have those WoW championships and whatnot, see who can kill off the boss the fastest. I never watched one of those championships, so I don't know exactly what the goals are. I'm just speculating that it's going through a raid as fast as you can, right? Is that essentially what it is?
Some of their championships, like whether it's like a Mythic plus Dungeon championship, seeing which groups can get through the raid the fastest, however high up, because there's different levels, Keystone, plus 10, 12, whatever. But yeah, I mean, the main concept of what I was thinking was games like that we've seen and played a lot of, even some of the dead ones, like Friday the 13th, the game, taking the killers or the players and replacing them with AIs who learn within certain parameters and provide you with more of a challenge, especially since the games that are dying, they need something to give it life. So why not implement something like bots and AI to help bring the game back to life? Would provide these companies the money again, you know what I mean?
I guess it would, like, you implementing AI into games such as that, I guess it would save the developers a lot of time as well, because rather than having to do like if and statements constantly throughout the game, like if the killer in Dead by Daylight, they are the AI or whatever, so they know, like, if the survivor is to do this, I need to do this. And I guess developers, they have to type that all in and create that coding for it. But if it was to be AI that could learn, be like, oh, well, they did this and I did this and that was wrong, that didn't work out, let me try this, and just creating those own conclusions for itself. I suppose that would save developers a lot more time and be able to allow developers to push out more improved content faster than they would do otherwise. As far as developers making new games as well, not having to write all this coding for these certain enemies or what have you. Yeah, all they would have to do is let the AI learn, play test it a whole bunch, so that the AI learns everything, and then set up parameters within that AI's learning experience, so that it at least performs to an extent that allows the players to achieve what they need to achieve. and not just stopping them in their tracks. So yeah, you know what? I'm on board. Yeah, I'd love to see it ultimately and see it implemented in some sense and you know, kind of experiment with it. And yeah, I think that would be very interesting to see. But I guess ultimately it would be like just playing against a player.
In that case, at what point do you think the AI would have gone too far in the video game?
If we consider AI like comes to conclusions, right? But can an AI adapt in the moment? Like I know it can make conclusions after the fact, but can it adapt in the moment like a player, like a human player would?
That's a good question.
I don't think that it would have those capabilities to do so. So we could. What's the conclusion I was trying to draw up here? Maybe I was making more of a statement. I don't know. I mean, obviously, like I feel like essentially it would, like I said before, be more of like just playing a player that's learning the game. But I feel like the AI would be able to better perfect things, you know, based off its conclusions. But it wouldn't be able to consider things in the moment, you know, if it needs to like instantly change up strategy. And I feel like players could get the upper hand because of that, because they can adapt in the moment. I don't know. I can't draw up an ultimate conclusion of whether or not like or how it could be necessarily implemented effectively. But like I said before, I'd love to see it. Like I'm down for it. I'm game for it. I'd love to see a developer actually give it a go.
I think when we reach the end where we're like, okay, this AI's gone too far in the video games, is the minute that it starts teabagging and telling you how terrible of a player you are. So you go, no.
Oh my god, yes. Oh man.
AI has gone too far.
That's when AI goes too far.
It's learned too much from the players. We cannot let this be a thing anymore. Shut it down.
Hard reboot. Hard reboot. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining us on the Merle and Locke podcast. If you enjoyed this banter, please consider becoming a patron by going to patreon.com/Merle and Locke, or simply follow the link in the description. Thank you.